President of the Politics Society.
Hi, my name is Aditi and I am an editorial team member for Incite. Today we're interviewing Josh as he's running for the role of President of the Students' Union.
Hi there.
Hi, Josh. How have you been?
I'm not too bad at all.
How's the campaigning been going?
It's been going really well. It's good to talk to lots of people and get really positive feedback for my manifesto.
It's really good. So we're going to open up with the first question is, the union president is the lead representative of the Students' Union. So more often than not, the union will adopt the personality of this officer. Tell us about your personality.
Absolutely. So I'm really driven. I like to see, run these campaigns from beginning to end and really see that change take place. And I think what the Students' Union needs to be doing is leading these campaigns and seeing these campaigns through to the end and getting these goals. So be it on fees, be it on housing, I want to see the SU out campaigning and winning on these fights.
Can you tell us what your vision is for the Students' Union?
Absolutely. So I want to see the Students' Union really be standing up for Surrey students. I think in the past few years they've sort of missed the ball a little bit. They've sort of sat by when we've been having some of the largest attacks on education for decades. We're seeing things such as a teaching excellence framework being brought in to marketise our education. We're seeing cuts to funding, we're seeing cuts to like our NHS student bursaries. And unfortunately the Students' Union hasn't really stood up to counter those, and that's what I want to see the Students' Union really be doing, standing up for Surrey students.
Could you give us maybe an example of how you would implement that change into the Students' Union?
Absolutely. So I think the first thing that we really need to do is a big sort of culture shift in the Students' Union. Then obviously Rubik's and all the nightlife and stuff is an amazing thing, and we should definitely continue that. But I want to see that students know that the Students' Union actually has a bit more depth than that. It's also there to stand up and fight for them. So be it through looking at how the course rep system works, so that the students know that that's their first port of call, to students really actually taking part in these campaigns and seeing as their own. So one of my policies is self-organised liberation campaigns for different oppressed groups, be it women or LGBT plus people, BAME students and so on. I really want to see these different groups really taking the lead and making their own campaigns.
So could you tell us more about your leadership styles and how you're going to obviously lead the sabbatical officers, the zone members and the rest of the Students' Union?
Absolutely. So I like to have things nice and organised, but I'm also fairly relaxed. But at the same time, I think if the rules are in place, like in the bylaws and so on in the Students' Union, I think we can actually get a really good, strong working relationship and really push for this change.
What would you say are your biggest strengths and, on the other hand, your biggest weaknesses?
Absolutely. So I tend to very much throw myself really into these campaigns. I let them really take over my life, and I think that is both my biggest strength and my biggest weakness. So I've been out really campaigning in the past, so you might have seen we did that Trump demo about a month ago.
We attended it.
Absolutely, and Incite featured it on their front cover, which was really brilliant to see. I've been campaigning for the NSS boycott on campus, which unfortunately the Students' Union didn't back. We've been out also, so I also chair the Labour Club, and through that we've been working on various campaigns, so be it the light switch off locally in Guildford, we were at the forefront of that, and other campaigns such as that were really pushing things forward.
As president, you would have to be neutral politically. Do you agree with that statement, or do you disagree? Being part of the Labour Society, what do you think?
I think it's absolutely right that the Students' Union should be partisan, but it's partisan on the side of students. So when the government, no matter who it is attacking students, be it when Labour brought in fees about a decade ago or when they were increased by the Tories more recently, we need the Students' Union to stand up and really fight for Surrey students and be on our side.
So sort of looking into your manifesto more, I'll just show everyone your manifesto. The university is currently in a lot of debt, and up until last year was in deficit. You say in your manifesto that you would like the university to pay its entire staff a living wage. How do you think the university should pay for this, and will this involve cuts to certain areas?
So I had a meeting yesterday with the senior management of the university, and they informed me that the university is actually on a £4 million budget surplus in the last financial year. And also we have some of the highest paid senior management in the in the education system.
Yeah.
And I think that's a real disgrace when we've got senior management taking home hundreds of thousands of pounds, while we've got cleaners and we've got guards and so on who aren't even earning a living wage. I want to see the money coming out of that budget surplus, and I want to see the money coming out of senior management's wages, and that's what I'm going to push for as president.
You say in your manifesto that you will do more than just sit down at lunch tables with powerful figures. I will organize campaigns. Regardless, sitting down with important figures is an important part of the president role. What do you intend to discuss with the current Vice Chancellor?
Absolutely. So yesterday when I went to speak with the senior management, I had a whole list of questions. I wanted to ask about, why are the university raising rents for the poorest students by 4% in this coming year, which is more than double inflation? Why are the university continuing to have financial interest in the arms trade, whose missiles and so on are literally killing the family of our international students? These are the things that I really want to push forward. I also want to see the university take a bold and clear public stance against things like cuts to NHS bursaries, against the higher education reforms. I want to see the university stand up for Surrey students just as much as I will as president of the SU.
So you say in your manifesto as well, and you've been quite clear about it as well, that you want to stand up for student nurses and defend the NHS from cuts to student bursaries especially. In relation to the university trying to set up a medical school with 1,200 student doctors, this will require, creating a new course, new facilities, and a new infrastructure. So, on the other hand, while this will be brilliant for Surrey's research, Surrey's reputation, obviously it's amazing, it will also be a huge boost to our NHS with more doctors trained. But it will be hugely expensive and lead to even more students and overcrowding at our university, which is already, we're taking on more students than ever. What's your opinion on this?
So I think there's sort of two questions there, and I'll respond first of all on the NHS stuff. It's amazing that the university is building this great new stuff for NHS students, and I think we should be really proud of that. But we need the Students' Union, we need the university to actually stand up for those students, and that means fighting these education reforms. But on the issue of overcrowding, we have to acknowledge why there is overcrowding and why the university has to keep increasing their intake. And that's because as part of the higher education reforms by the government, what we're seeing is the funding the university gets per student is going down. So in order to maintain the same level of facilities, the university needs to take in more students. That's why we need to oppose these things. We need to oppose the teaching excellence framework, we need to oppose the higher education reforms, and that's what I want the Students' Union and the university to come out clearly on.
So you want the union to take positions on the arms trade and Israel-Palestine. Are you aware that the Students' Union is a registered charity and therefore legally a non-political organization? And are you proposing that the Students' Union should change its charitable organization status?
So the law says that they're not allowed to spend charitable funds on these campaigns, not that they can't take positions. There's no reason at all why we can't take these positions. There's no reason at all why we can't go out there and actually make a big noise about these things and stick up for our international students. I think that's a really important thing to do.
Why do you think that this isn't something that's already been done or advocated for?
I think the last few generations of sabbatical officers have been really out of touch. It's been generation after generation of president being a previous SAB, and I think that needs to end. We've also got quite a poor culture at Surrey of real activism, and I really hope we can bring that back. So actually we can have a students' union that's going to stand up for Surrey students.
But do you think as president, because you're representing the student body, do you think, obviously you are looking out for the interest of the body, but say someone else has a different opinion to your stances? I know we've already touched upon it, but do you think as president you shouldn't be as vocal?
I think we've got democratic procedures in the Students' Union, and I think that we should use them. So things such as execs, such as the AMMs, I think we should really make a big issue of them and get students involved and get students making their voice heard. I think that would be a brilliant outcome.
What about the voices of the students who don't necessarily share, your political views? Will their voices have the same power behind them as the voices that you would agree with?
they're more than welcome to put forward motions. They're more than welcome to put their voices forward. I'm obviously going to debate against them, because if I think they're wrong, I'm going to do that. I'm going to stand up for what I believe in. But at the same time, they are more than welcome to make their voice heard. And if I lose the vote, then I lose the vote. I'm not going. I really want the Students' Union to be proud of our democracy inside as well.
I think we can say that, you know, obviously, even you just running would sort of bring this sort of issues forward, and I think that's a really good thing to bring forward, because perhaps the Students' Union haven't been as, you know, front about such issues. But anyways, our final question. Do you think your pledges are feasible? Do you think you can actually achieve these things?
Yes, absolutely. So we see rent strikes, for example, in UCL and Queen Mary, which have been successful. Now, I'm not advocating a rent strike. What I'm saying is I'm advocating for lower rents. It's the university that decides, you know, whether we have a rent strike or anything like that. Yeah. It's what they do, whether or not they want to shift. We see big student movements nationally and in other universities, and they've been successful. I think Surrey's got great potential to be in the same level as those, and it's just a shame that we haven't realised that in the last few years.
How exactly would you go about achieving things that you say you're going to achieve in your manifesto, because they do seem quite ambitious?
Absolutely. So with things, so we go to the university and we make these demands. So just to be clear, I'm not saying that the Students' Union spends any money on any of my pledges. I don't want the Students' Union paying for free education or for free childcare on campus. I want that coming from the university and from the government. So what I want to do is I want to build this movement up, because we have leverage as students. We're the ones that, at the end of the day, without us, there is no university. Yeah. So we can campaign, we can get together, and we can actually make these demands. And I think that's something that previous SABs have forgotten.
I think that's a great, positive change that you're trying to.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming to talk to us.
No worries.
And if you'd like to watch the videos of the other presidential candidates, there will be links in the description box. There will also be Sam and Sarah, who are going for Union Chair.
Make sure you subscribe to Stag TV and follow the Politics Society and Incite on Facebook.
Thank you, Josh, for coming again.
Thanks, Josh. Thank you.